Hmm. So I wanted to talk about, by the way, welcome back, friends. I don't know what I'm gonna call you guys, but oh god, but I swear, as soon as I turn on the camera, I get uncomfortable. I don't know, I don't know how I'm doing this because I'm really an introvert at heart, and I know that that's like it's really just a category that we put on things. It's not necessarily something that's really reflected in the world as it actually exists. Is just a way for us to kind of categorize what, excuse me, what a person is and what a person isn't. However, I do find myself to be what most people would consider to be an introvert. I can be, which is weird because most of my friends would tell you that I'm extroverted, which is true for when I'm around friends. Like if I have people around that I want to entertain, I'm as extroverted as I need to be. But if I'm just by myself doing my thing, I'm very quiet, very to myself, very, you know, just chill, I think. So I'm more of an ambivert in that sense, I guess what you'd call that, which again is just another categorization of something that may or may not actually exist. It doesn't, but that is what I found. Uh, where was I going with this? Oh, so why is a introvert and or ambivert going out of his way to make videos of himself to post onto YouTube and have other people watch? I guess it's just the fact that as I get older, I realize, by the way, guess how old I am in the comments. I wonder how old I come off to be if I haven't already said it. But as I've grown older, I've kind of learned that the people that are successful aren't necessarily the people that I don't want to say deserve success, but the people that in any other situation would be successful. I think the first thing that comes to mind for me at least is politician. I was politish. I didn't know if I wanted to say politicians or politics, but that realm is like is not necessarily the people that would be the best politicians that are occupying the seats in politics. It's the people that want to be politicians. It's not necessarily a complete overlap of the Venn diagram, if at all. Um, Long story short, I seem to fall back on the experience that I had maybe like a year and a half ago, where I'm a big fan of comedy. I like humor, and I went to see should I even say the person's name? I don't want to cause any beef with him. I went to as if Tim Dillon's going to listen to this podcast. Um, I went to his comedy show, and I I didn't love his opener. Like he had his moments, but I really didn't laugh during his set all that much. And at the end of his set, I was like, I can do that, what he just did, but so much better. And now I know that that's obviously something that's common in comedy. Like people watch a person up on the stage talking and they're like, I can do that. But honestly, I really did feel in my soul that, hey, if I tried, I could probably be just as good as what I just witnessed. Now, he might have had an off day. He might be a killer on it, on, his best days, but I just didn't, it didn't do it for me. And then Dillon got up there and he was funny. He was doing material that I kind of heard tangentially during his podcast because I watched his podcast all the time. And as I was watching, he was funny as usual, but I was also like, and I think that this is something that's also true of just anything, any like in person experience. It's like if I'm watching him on YouTube on my TV, he seems a bit more legitimate than if I was in the room with him talking. So there might have been an aspect of this. And this was also happening at a comedy club, which is a small venue. It wasn't exactly in the Chicago theater, which he has done. But when I saw him, I was literally in the front row with him. Not in the front row with him. I was in the front row when he was on stage. And I was probably about, 10 feet away from him, like looking him in his eye, praying that he wouldn't acknowledge the fact that I was there by myself because I tend to do stuff by myself. His opener did, which isn't why I didn't like him. I just didn't like his performance. And yeah, as I sat there, I kind of realized like this is just a person that got really good at doing this. There isn't anything that's intrinsic in what they're doing or intrinsic in the skills that they have that I couldn't hone and perfect and become appear to them in with time. So that kind of has colored the way I look at a lot of things, not just comedy, not just performance art, just things in general, where it's just like people are people. No matter how successful they are, no matter how famous they are, they're just people. And I know that's obviously the case. It seems a bit unnecessary to point that out, but it's true. Like we do tend to put people on a pedestal. Literally, if you have a TV that's on a stand, and they're just people. So that's why I created this podcast, because I did feel like, and also I talked about this in the last episode, I just saw enough people with podcasts that were just mediocre. And I was like, if they're doing it, why can't I do it? You know, there's nothing special about the person that's doing this. It's just that they're already established, usually for the podcast that I watch. They're already well known for doing something, but it's like, it's not necessarily something that they were born with or possess that puts them in a better position to be a good podcaster than I am, or I could be if I'm just thinking about this out loud. That being said, that doesn't mean that this is going to be any good. And that's kind of why I named the channel I'd Watch That, because I'm kind of hedging my bets, because if it's good, that's because I'm good. And if it's bad, it's like, hey, well, it's not your cup of tea. I was only doing this as a passion project for myself, so it doesn't really matter if you like it or don't like it. But obviously it would hurt if I got negative feedback. And I think that with any type of rejection in life, you just have to grow a bit of a callus as you do it more and more and get more and more feedback from people, whether it be positive or negative. You kind of have to, just because something hurts doesn't mean it's not worth inflicting upon yourself. Like exercise. I have a joke. It is not really a joke. It's just the observation, which most jokes start as, most good ones. But it's that whenever you have any type of problem and you go to the doctor or you look it up online, if you look it up on WebMD, it's probably cancer. But if you just look into it online, like read some forums, do some research, the answer is more than likely drink more water or do exercise. And it's just like, but is there anything else that I could do? Like literally anything other than those two things? And the answer is usually no, because apparently those are like the panacea of any ailment, water and exercise. So I kind of wanted to talk, for the most part, for this podcast, to talk about my, well, there's two things. There's my personality and then there's my upbringing, and how that has kind of formed me into the person that I am now and was, obviously. I'm saying a lot of stuff that I'm doing. I'm not double talking. I'm just saying a lot of stuff that's like, of course, yes, get on with it. I'm sorry. But I feel like I've consistently been subject to imposter syndrome all of my life. Not even just like during the big moments, because like, for example, as I said in the opening, that I consider myself to be a lot more introverted than ambiverted, really. I'm really kind of just play everything close to the chest, just observe, digest information, don't necessarily divulge what I'm feeling or thinking. And again, that's both personality driven and upbringing driven. But regardless of that being the case, how I view myself, my friends find me to be extremely extroverted. And it's like, again, yes, I'm that way when I'm with my friends, but I'm not like that in public. And it's also not just with my friends. Like at work, I'm very outspoken. I say things that other people may or may not disagree with. I say things that I feel passionately about. I give pushback when I think I'm right, and I apologize when I'm wrong. And I do it all with tact, I think. But what I'm trying to say is that my life as it is now is perpendicular to what I would describe myself as. And I don't know how to reconcile that. And I've dealt with that on multiple occasions where it's like I have this own vision of myself and my attributes and characteristics and picadillos and any idiosyncrasies, idiosync and idio. Okay, I'm gonna just drop it there. It's been a long day. My brain is running on fumes. But situation I find myself in isn't the situation I would imagine myself being in if you were to extrapolate my life 5 years ago. If you were to ask me as a 14-year-old, where would you see yourself in the next years? Again, you have to guess how old I am. Be nice. Be nice. Or don't, because that's not how the world is. But I wouldn't say that I would be living the life that I'm living now. And I like aspects of the life that I'm living now. But it's, again, hard to reconcile. Because I do feel like I'm betraying who I am at my core. Well, it's not that dramatic. I just feel uneasy in certain situations where it's just like, how did I find myself in this situation that's so anathema to how I actually perceive myself? But I deal with it, and I do like where I am in my life right now. But what I really wanted to talk about, and I hope that a lot of people that are watching this kid uh, agree with in some form, is for better or worse, how I'm trying to find the best way to put this without without putting blame on others. How counterintuitive the process of raising a child is to what would best suit them and their lives moving forward as an adult. For me, I had a really constrained upbringing. I wouldn't say in an oppressive household, but I'll say it, an oppressive household. And creativity and what's the word? Not conflict, but disagreement or pushback wasn't fostered. And not only was it not fostered, it was unacceptable. And as I've grown older and older, I knew at the time how ridiculous it was that people thought, or not people, my parent, and I say parent because it was really only one of them, my dad, how they thought that what they were doing would lead to a, I don't see how, and I'm just being honest, I don't see, I'm sure that if I thought about it long enough and was generous enough in my thoughts, I could put myself in his shoes, but I don't see how the way that he brought up his children, my sister and I, how you could reconcile that with the type of person that child would become as an adult. Because if you don't allow for dissent and you don't encourage creativity and you're not like super, and it's not even that, I don't want to say it's not even that difficult. When you really boil it down, all you have to do is ensure that that kid feels comfortable with being their truth self, regardless of what external factors are trying to impose upon them. Now, the implementation of that might be difficult, but the idea itself, just raising a person to be their own individual, it doesn't sound so difficult. And I'm sure there's different ways of doing that, obviously. But personally, what I've noticed a lot lately, and what's been said to me explicitly by some of my older, more tenured coworkers, is like, hey, you got to fight for your ideas. You got to give pushback. Because I've been so conditioned to look for external cues on what's right and what's wrong. I was never asked, what do you think about this? How would you solve this issue? And even in school, even in college, even in college, even, I was never really, I don't know, just taken by the shoulders and being like, what the fuck do you think? Like, how are you feeling? Like, who are you? I was Now, I was an engineer, so obviously there's like a certain amount of freedom that you can find within that. But overall, there's certain things that you have to learn and certain things that probably can't be debated. And also, when you're in school, for the most part, you're just focusing on getting a grade. So anything that gives you the shortest path to getting a good grade is usually the one that a student will take. And that doesn't necessarily incentivize the student to do this deep learning and actually invest themselves in what they're learning. And that's even, let's not even talk about if you're even in the fucking field that you want to be in. Imagine if you're doing all that and you have no reason to believe that you actually will be happy pursuing whatever you end up getting this degree in. And again, that's not even necessarily a bad thing, because there are plenty of people that don't really know what they want to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went to a math and science school, and I guess I was always somewhat analytical in my, you know, day-to-day life, that my parents were like, engineering. And I was like, hey, that pays a lot. That's a great reason to go into engineering. And I made it work, and it took a long time. I got dropped out of college. I didn't drop out of college. They dropped me for self-plagiarism, amongst other things, which is, I don't even want to talk about that because I'd be fuming if I talked about that. Self-plagiarism. Yes, you can plagiarize yourself, folks. Don't do it, according to the University of Illinois. And I was surrounded by kids that were seemingly innately talented, kids that were starting up companies in their freshman year, making prototypes, the creme de la creme of engineering from across the country. And here I am being like, I guess I'll do this. And I went into that program the summer after I graduated. So I didn't even get the summer after senior year off. And I did all this being a first generation student. Now, I could go down the path of diversity and the perils of doing it for the sake of doing it. For example, trying to get your, let's say, student body to be more diverse without implementing any type of support system to see their success through to the finish line. Just, letting them in and say, hey, what you do is what you do from here on out. Our mentors aren't really going to give a shit about what you study or the timeline that you put it on. We'll give you this cookie cutter syllabus, not syllabus, but course map, and just take this and run with it. And I failed so many classes. I probably failed 80% of the classes I took that summer semester. And it was, the other thing is that summer semester was accelerated. I was taking like calc over the course, an entire calc course over the course of like a couple of months. And I failed it so hard. I couldn't even understand. I couldn't even understand my professor, and I'm smiling because I'm like, do I want to do the voice? And I'm thinking of Shane Gillis. Yes, I'm going to do the voice. The voice was, yes, he was Indian. And this will be my last episode. But no, it is an issue. And this kind of goes to the other idea that I think of constantly, the idea of, oh, that's untoward to even hint at. Hint at. I don't know why I said it like that. It's just like, as soon as you sprinkle in race into anything, it's all of a sudden radioactive. It's like that opening scene from the Powerpuff Girls. This will be a deep cut, not the reboot that they did, that junk show, that junk reboot. Look at how they massacred my boy or my girls, my Powerpuff Girls. When I'm trying to think if I can think of his name, Professor. I think they just called him Professor. When he's he's putting in the sugar and the spice and everything nice, and then his elbow breaks the chemical that spills into the pot. That's racism. That chemical, not racism, but race. And then all of a sudden, every cake that you bake from then on out has this aftertaste of, is that racist? Is that a hint of white privilege that I'm tasting, or is that nutmeg? Is that white privilege or nutmeg? I don't like that. And how you can't talk about it, but that's really happened. So what I'm saying, and what I viewed to be the case, is that I was gonna say for better or for worse, you obviously want to get the best people to teach these classes, which is definitely not what happens in most cases, in a large amount of the cases. Whether it's because they're not being paid enough or they're just jaded, you get these professors that sometimes are more invested in their research than the actual courses that they're teaching, so they're very hands off. And then you get these rooms. When I was at U of I, you get these rooms of 500 kids, and all of a sudden you're supposed to give a shit when the teacher's talking to a class of 500 people. And then you go to your mentor, and they're like, well, we gave you the roadmap for how long it should take you to graduate. We don't really understand what's going on. Obviously, the missing link is your own ambition. Those type of universities really make you feel like only a number. And then you walk around the quad, and there's thousands of other kids. And then if you're in my case, you're in my position, you see other people doing well, and you're like, what the fuck is wrong with me that I can't succeed? I've gone from being a big fish in a small pond to being a fucking sardine in the Atlantic. Antlantic. An ant in the Atlantic. But no one wants to talk about that. In my school, we really shat on going to community college. Like, it's not supposed to be a thing that you do. That's not the progression. You don't go to community college. But you save so much money. You save all the monies. And you kind of get you're able to ease yourself into college, as opposed to just getting waterboarded, just complete Osama bin Laden, fucking Guantanamo Bay, boogie boarding all over your face. At least that was my experience. And I don't think I'm a slacker. And then also, I get to the end of my first year there, right before they fucking kicked me out. And I talked to some of the people, and they're like, do you know, I couldn't find this answer on Chegg. And I'm like, Chegg? What's Chegg? They're like, that's where we get the answers from the homework. That's where we get the answers for the homework. And I'm like, you guys have been cheating this entire time? They're like, how else will we pass? And I had no idea. Here I am staying up until 2 o'clock in the morning. There were times where I watched the sun set and rise, all while doing the same homework assignment. How deflating that is, to be giving your all and yet getting nowhere, and then being surrounded by people that are just doing breaststrokes, passing you by, just lapping your ass. And then you look at yourself and you're like, I'm not a diversity admit. I didn't get to where I was because of affirmative action. And then you internalize that. And you see other people espousing the virtues of doing diversity and inclusion uh, initiatives. And the thing is, no one's doing it for the wrong reasons, unless they are, which there definitely are people doing it for the wrong reasons. But that's true of anything in life. But nuance is just something that we are not disposed to paying attention to. I think it's just like we wash the car, and let's just hope to God that somehow washing the car is going to make the engine run smoother. Is not fixing the real problem, unfortunately. And the real problem will probably take generations to fix. And the real problem won't be fixed within a fucking single term of an elected official. They have no reason to devote that much time and effort to it if it's not going to get them reelected. So it's like, really, what do you do? Now, I graduated. I took the fucking scenic route through college. Trust me, in and out of community colleges, in and out. And you know the fuck up thing? Those classes that I failed in my first semester, what a way to start off my time in university. The first semester classes that I took during my summer break that I didn't get, I wound up finding out that I had already done dual admission, or not dual admission, dual credit for those classes, and had already passed. They just hadn't been transferred over correctly. Is that fun? Are you having hardcore fun? College is the best years of your life. I'm surprised I didn't become obese in college, because I would literally walk from my final exam, or any exam really, and directly into the quick service place that they had for the cafeteria, buy myself a fucking ice cream sandwich and go to town. Just cry into it, which was nice because it added some salt to the ice cream sandwich, and now salt and sweetness, like, oh, chef's kiss. Isn't depression delicious? And then I hadn't even been diagnosed with any of the afflictions that I later came to know directly impact my ability to stay focused and perform well. And then when I do that, I get pushback from my parents, because that's not something that a person that looks like me is encouraged to talk about amongst their community. Now, I don't just want to, shit on where I am in life, because I'm saying that from a beautiful apartment with floor to ceiling windows and a very, very, very comfortable cardigan, wearing very comfortable cashmere socks, in a very affluent neighborhood. I have done well for myself, and yet, you heard that? I'm hollow inside. Now I'm being dramatic, obviously, but even with success, I'm now an aerospace engineer, getting more and more responsibility by the day, who's only like, what is it now? 2 years out of college, who graduated during the pandemic, by the way. I didn't get to fucking walk across the stage. I did, but not really, not in front of a crowd. I really only got a PowerPoint presentation. But I did get to choose the picture, and you're damn right I looked great. I always look good. But in this job, with all the success that I found, success, I've only been alienated even more. And I don't think that's what parents even, I think that's so far away from what people actually experience. going through life. Like if you were to take what a parent wants on paper and extrapolate it to, I don't know, maybe it's extreme. Like let's say your kid does start a company and becomes a billionaire at the age of 18, which apparently there's an endless amount if you look on social media. So if you're doing anything less than 1 million, you're a fucking failure, right? If they do become a billionaire, now they're a billionaire amongst billionaires. They're completely alienated from their family. If they're like coming from a middle class family, the average upbringing, they are completely out of their depth, but they're successful. How lonely must it be to be in that situation? I'll tell you how lonely. It's real echoey in this apartment. Now, some of that is self imposed. Again, I do enjoy my alone time. But in the absence of hearing what I actually want to do, in the absence of having my own internal compass and confidence in pursuing things that I actually want to pursue, you find yourself, a decade or two into living this life that you've been told that you want to live. And you're like, who did I do this for? You don't really feel fulfilled. And then that becomes an issue because now there's this cognitive dissonance between what what should make you happy and how you actually feel. And you start to feel, again, ungrateful, like a imposter. So you dig more into your work. You try to become more successful because that'll give you maybe that'll make you feel better, getting a salary or increase or a Tesla. What do you have to say about a Tesla? That's right. He doesn't get input. He's about 2 years too late. I'm looking at you, Elon, taking over Twitter and making the stock tank. I do think the public is becoming jaded with Tesla, though. It does seem that even Elon Musk has become dismissive of Tesla's success. To be fair, its mission was to make the other incumbent car companies be more serious when it comes to electric vehicles, and they're definitely doing that now to Tesla's detriment. As Ford rolls out an electric pickup truck and Tesla's still trying to duct tape together the pieces from its broken windshield of the prototype it has. And it keeps getting pushed back further and further. But that in general, like they just seem to have stopped innovating in the past couple of years. Like when was the last time we had an actual huge reveal since the Cybertruck stuff? Since the semi-truck stuff? It's been a while. It used to be always something going on, and now it's just seemed to have flatlined. And other car companies are all too happy to snap up that market share. But I digress. What I really wanted to talk about is how ill-equipped I found myself to be in the job that I currently occupy. It's an engineering job, but it is it requires an extreme amount of innovation and creativity. Like there's no predetermined answer. Like to solve an issue recently, I literally had to go on to like a hardware website and buy some specific hose clamps to fix a problem that hose clamps aren't even made to fix. And that's not something that I really think they teach in engineering. Like it's very numbers heavy, very quantitative rather than qualitative. Now, you get these platitudes about how engineers lack the qualitative skills that are required to operate in the workplace, which is true. They don't do much to improve upon it other than maybe have you take a economics course or like a, I don't know, just take some general elective, take the history of Latin music, and then hopefully you will, for by some act of God, extrapolate your learnings from that into the workplace and find yourself being able to espouse to people why they should go with your engineered solutions, why you should give pushback onto certain things that maybe the way that we've done them before isn't the best way to do them now, right? It doesn't really teach you much about interpersonal relationships. But again, even more so, it doesn't teach you to be super creative. And I've learned that too. It's just like how much of our lives, and this isn't, I'm just generalizing to the public now, we spend so much of our lives looking to other people to create content to entertain us, to make our food, to solve our problems. You know, I'm thinking right now, I installed a bidet on my toilet, and the toilet that I have, the toilet seat that I bought, has a lip on it. And the bidet makes it sit at a jaunty angle. So now it kind of, you know, gyrates when you sit on it, like it moves around. That's cool. Well, I can do that pretty good. Look at that. Um, and I was like searching on the internet, like, surely the company has something to solve this because this is an issue and nothing exists. And I'm like, I guess I'll deal with that problem for the rest of my life or for the rest of the time that I have this toilet seat and or bidet. And it's like you could just make something up, like get some washers and screws and stuff to fix the problem. Like not everything is a prepackaged, already solved solution to the problems that you have in life. And I know that that's kind of like stupid of me to say and come to a realization of, because there is a term called ingenuity, which kind of has similarities in engineering in its etymology. But so often, and for good reason, people see engineers as like robots. And it's just like, that's not the case. And as a person that wasn't brought up in a very creative household or in a household that fostered creativity, as a person that's an introvert and doesn't like confrontation, when I have to tell people why my idea is the one that we should go with, that's like a compounding of all the areas in my life that I have been completely robbed of. And not robbed of because I don't want to make myself sound like a victim, but I've allowed to atrophy to the point of me being like, I don't really know what to do in this situation. Someone call in the adult because I don't see one around here when I'm the adult. And that's another thing that you realize in life. You walk into the room and you're like, someone here knows what they're doing. And then the guy at Mariano's checking you out calls you sir. And you're like, the fuck did you just call me? He called me sir. I guess I am an adult. It's like, oh, you're just now coming to that realization? You take Metamucil in the morning. You bought a sewing machine to sew your drapes. You're wearing a cardigan. You have a bookshelf. Your knees pop when you bend down. You hear that? Oh, it's not doing that. Let's see if I can. It's not doing it. You're starting to make noises when you get up and sit down. You're old. You're an adult at the very least. I'm not old. I'm just an adult. But yeah, I'm just Teaching kids to look inward instead of outwards for solutions to problems is imperative, because the people that are finding the solutions are the ones that are going to be financially successful, are going to be self-actualized. And that's just not something, as a parent, you're incentivized to, or at least it's incentivized on the face to you know, as a parent, you don't want your child to dissent. You don't want to have to explain to your kid the reason why you want them to eat broccoli. You know, you just want them to do it. It's hard to live that truth every day, but it's worth it, because you're not creating a true adult if you're telling the adult what to do all the time. And they're just going to find themselves in situations where A, they're either being controlled by other people, B, they're being a mat, just a fucking rug under the feet of everyone else that has the courage to stand up for their beliefs and speak over them, because there will be bullies in life, whether or not society in the mainstream narrative wants you to believe. You're not going to get rid of other people that want their way instead of your way. And C, it's like you're going to you're going to raise a person that wants and craves other people to tell them what to do. And that can lead to abusive relationships, staying in a toxic workplace for too long. And that doesn't teach them how to fish. Telling them to eat the fish doesn't teach them how to fish. Having them question, why are we eating fish, and why are you trying to, maybe I have an allergy. Maybe I don't like fish. Maybe we should start selling people fish because everyone keeps telling people to eat fish. Maybe we should be the people that are producing the fish. Just little stuff like that. I don't know. I don't have the answers. No one does. And if people tell you that they have the answers, it's like, are you trying to sell me something? And that kind of goes back to my idea that I said during the last podcast about who is anyone to give anyone advice on anything. Really, all you can do is do you. And raise a person that can do them later on in life, which is difficult because that takes a lot of cognitive resources to be constantly reevaluating your own beliefs, to constantly be critically thinking about what society wants you to think. But the people that are just laying down and accepting everything that's getting spoon fed to them aren't the people that are going to be self-actualized and successful. And that's just the truth. But you can't have that mentality when you're dealing with large swaths of people, because if everyone wants to be an individual, then laws kind of break down and you can't really control them. And I'm not saying that in a conspiratorial way. I'm just saying, and again, some people just want to be told what to do. They just want to clock in and clock out. They don't want to think about all that, which is fine. Again, you do you, right? But that does not mean that you should preemptively take a creative child and kind of lob off their corners in order to make them fit into the circle that you think society wants for them. Because no one knows what society will want when that kid becomes an adult. By the time that kid becomes an adult, ChatGPT might be doing all the coding stuff. So there's no longer a need for coding jobs, programmers. But if you've taught that kid to really find what they like doing and consistently enforce the ability to find themselves no matter where they are, they can never be lost. And then to take the responsibility back into your own hands, it's never too late to start questioning where you are, what you believe, what to do next. But the older you get, the more difficult it is to change anything because you already have this, again, there's this cognitive ease to continue doing what you've been doing. And then if you start questioning stuff, it's like, oh, well, what does this mean about this? And what does this mean about that? You can always change. You can always do differently. And that's the thing. Another thing that people don't realize about failure is that whenever I make a dumb decision, I don't I don't really get mad at myself anymore. I used to like have this really aggressive negative self-talk about buying the wrong type of lettuce when I was at the grocery store. But almost immediately now, I've done this enough. I've conditioned myself enough to do this. As soon as I get that urge to start blaming myself for making a mistake, I just think, I don't have to do it again. And it's just that simple. I wasn't purposefully making the wrong decision when I made the decision, and I don't have to make the wrong decision again. And at some point in life, that wrong decision might be the right decision. So, unfortunately, life is this amorphous blob that's always changing like a fucking chimera. And we are so hell bent on trying to put that fucking thing in a box just so that it makes any type of sense when we don't even realize that it doesn't owe us any explanation in the first place. It's like trying to grab water. It's like, why are you trying to grab water? Get a cup. But that iterative, ongoing evaluation of who you are, and imagine you're doing this, you're constantly, if you're doing it correctly, constantly evaluating what you are. Who are you on any given day? Now, that can seem like an existential crisis and debilitating and trying to go to the store and buy milk. But maybe you're lactose intolerant and you've just been ignoring it because milk is just what people drink. Maybe you should try Lactaid. And that brings us to our sponsor, Lactaid. I would love if Lactaid was a sponsor, by the way. Lactaid, let me clue you guys in on something. Lactaid is better than regular milk. I don't know why. It is milk. Apparently, just with the lactase enzyme removed or whatever. But it tastes better. It's like a cleaner taste. It's like the difference between drinking soda with high fructose corn syrup in it and then drinking soda with just regular cane sugar in it. It's like that type of difference, but with dairy. You gotta try it. And with that, I leave you with this thought. It's never too late to try Lactaid. I hope that you found some nugget of advice useful from what I've been ranting about for the past hour. And I hope you don't get too hard on yourself. I hope you don't get too hard on yourself. That's what she said. Am I right? I'm sorry. It's late. It's past my bedtime again. But I really appreciate you listening and just have fun living life, I think. Try to have fun and just try to, I don't know, just try to do the best that you can and make the best decisions with the knowledge that you have in any given situation. Because if you do that, it's kind of hard to fault yourself when you make a mistake, because it was like, well, I truly did what I thought was best. And you can think back on that and be like, you're right, Justin. So yeah, I love you guys, and I'm happy that I'm able to do this. Obviously, I'm happy that there's people listening. I'm just assuming that that's very grandiose of me, but at the very least, I'm happy that you're listening, Justin, and I'm proud of the progress that you've made, and I am so excited to see what we do next, because I couldn't even imagine us being in the position in that we're in now as a child or as a teenager. It's like so ridiculous. So I'm really hopeful where this will go in the next couple of years. No pressure, by the way. Just keep being you. Do whatever you can in the moment. But yeah, you done pretty damn well with the hand that you were dealt. So just keep being Justin. And viewer, keep being you. I love you guys, and I hope you have a great day. If you have a day ahead of you, and a great night of sleep if you're going to bed. Um, this became really sappy. But yeah, who cares? That's just how I felt today. Um, yeah, see you next time.